Last night, election night, had some huge high-profile wins that we've talked about, including Bevin going down in his re-election bid in Kentucky. Apparently, we'll see. But there were a lot of other important results from across the country yesterday. So let's just briefly skim across a few of them. Very importantly, Democrats won complete control of the Virginia government for the first time in a generation. Democrats have cleared the way for Governor Ralph Northam, who you might have heard about in the news, who was nearly driven from office earlier this year to press for measures tightening access to guns and raising the minimum wage that have been stymied by legislative Republicans. Because it's great to get a governor of your party, but if the state legislature is controlled by the other side, it's not as good as it could be.
So these are some of the things. So this is the opportunity now. As these, you have complete control of the entire state for the first time, and he said in
a generation, so 20, 30 years.
This is when Democrats need to stop acting like recent memory Democrats that go, well, this is the first time we've had this. Let's be very careful with this. And everyone told us they want us to come in and do this one thing, but let's just kind of do it because we don't want to ruffle too many feathers. The feathers are ruffled against your opponents. That's why you were voted in. Please go in and do the job that the American people that voted you in told you to do.
It's like, oh, they chose us. I don't want to scare anyone. Don't move. Okay, everybody, hide under your desk. And so for the next couple of years, it's just like the Republicans, and then it's like suits peeking out from under desks. But that's what they do, and not just at the state level. Nancy Pelosi was brought in to hold Donald Trump accountable. She's brought in theoretically for a lot of other things, but passing legislation was inherently gonna be very difficult with a Republican Senate and a Republican president. What you can do is hold him accountable. And it took so long for her to move in support of impeachment. After impeachable offense after impeachable offense. Don't do that, Virginia, or else we might have to wait another generation.
If nothing else, progressives, you mentioned the Nancy Pelosi part. If nothing else, they can at least go to the point that she and Schiff were so reluctant to finally start the impeachment inquiry, even that you can say, you know what? Remember how much they were denying against the whole impeachment thing? This must be really serious. Anytime these losers, these weak politicians actually make a move, it must be overwhelming. Like you can use that at least now.
Three-dimensional loser chess. Yes. Okay. Let's turn to another area. So this is Democratic Socialism and a number of different DSA-backed candidates. Of the baker's dozen candidates endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America's National Committee, at least 3 won seats in cities like Philadelphia and Charlottesville, with a fourth apparently likely to win in San Francisco as well. In Philadelphia, the DSA-backed independent candidate Kendra Brooks won her city council seat by over 10,000 votes, flipping a slot held by Republicans for generations. So not just one generation. So that is really exciting, especially when you delve into individual cases of this. They're not just winning in the most out and out crazy leftist districts. They're winning in purple districts, the places that we have been told this sort of ideology will tank the Democratic Party. Apparently not so much.
So again, this needs to be shouted from the rooftops. Okay, so then this particular group that's pushing these progressives to do these different things are getting some level of success. 4 out of 13, the baker's dozen. That's movement, that's something. So highlight it. We talked earlier about how Trump and then Trump Jr. and then Ingram and everyone on Fox News is talking about some, well, they got shellacked in Virginia and yeah, they lost the governor's race in Kentucky, but that's the power of Donald Trump. Like somehow, no matter what, the result, or at least the answer is still positive. When it is positive, in this case, point it out. No one will know no one's gonna buy it unless you go ahead and sell it.
Exactly.
And apparently it's flying off the shelves.
Yeah. And one other, there were obviously more candidacies. We'll get into a few more, but there were also important ballot measures. And so one, we had, I believe it was a city council member, it might've been a state legislator, on a couple of weeks ago to talk about New York's effort to pass ranked choice voting. And we talked about the likelihood at that point a few weeks ago about whether it could pass. And we weren't really sure. It's a big change. This would be by far the biggest city to do it. Fast forward to yesterday, and New Yorkers overwhelmingly backed a system of ranked choice voting, which allows voters to rank candidates in order of preference rather than selecting only their top choice. If you would like to know why that is better, we've done a number of videos on the channel on it. Just go to our channel and search ranked choice voting. We've had a bunch of different experts on to talk about the various benefits.
The more of democracy at work, so it gives people more of a chance to see what they really want. It's crazy, like when people have the power to see what they want, then politicians are put in place that will carry that out. I think that people might be happier with it.
Yeah, and that means that we're gonna see more third-party bids without the worry about being a spoiler or whatever, but also you get greater representation. That's just what experiments have shown, both in terms of who runs for these offices and also overall who wins in ranked choice voting systems. You have greater diversity amongst
There's
politicians.
gray area in politicians. There's so much of the black and white. Oh, if you don't think this way, you're not a Republican. If you don't think just this way, you're not a Democrat. There's a lot of gray areas. So when you have this many candidates, you get a chance to choose that rank. There's levels of which you're supporting certain folks for certain reasons.
There were several firsts last night. So Ghazala Hashmi, Democrat, was the first Muslim woman elected to the Virginia Senate. In Arizona, Regina Romero was headed towards victory in the Tucson mayor's race, becoming the first woman and the first Latina to lead that city. So that's exciting too. And we have another sort of first that I want to get into. So in Virginia, Danica Rome made history on Tuesday night as the first openly transgender politician to win re-election in a state legislature. And that's the sort of first that I want. Because when it's 2019 and you have like the first statewide African American elected official, that's great and that's progress, but it's also like 2019, that's the first? No, it's like the first one elected for the 5th time in a row or something like that. Like I want something that enshrines that we still have more diversity and not a reminder of how long it's taken for certain communities to have any representation at all.
Yeah, I pointed out before when someone was saying how they wondered why when these freshman congresswomen came in that everyone's talking about squad and what it'll be as far as the future for politics. And I was like, we need a confirmation election first for me to be not convinced, but for me to feel a little more comfortable with it. That the nation actually picks up on what it is that they're doing and that their ideas are taking us in a certain direction. So it's very important for that next confirmation to be like, okay, we trusted them, we saw what they wanted to do, and then we still believe in it. So the confirmation vote in this is such a good sign.
There was just one other race I want to talk about, and this one just because it's a little bit funny. So you might remember years ago, Donald Trump was in a motorcade and he was driving, and there was a photograph of a woman on a bicycle giving the motorcade the finger. That woman lost her job because of that. But as of last night, she has a new job. Julie Briskman, she won a seat on the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors 2 years after losing her job because of giving the middle finger to Donald Trump.
And apparently she won that not strictly because of the middle finger, but because of
I'm sure, yeah.
I mean, but that's enough of a rally cry. People knew about it. I remember that. It's enough of a rallying cry that at least her name is out there, but then using that, at least that promotion, I guess, but the demotion from her job. But that promotion to then give her ideas of what she would do in office, and apparently it worked out. I like it.
Yeah. So it wasn't by any means all Democratic victories. Republicans in Kentucky won almost all of the statewide races. Mississippi, they appear to have won the governorship. They might still be able to steal the Kentucky governorship, so they've got that going for them. But a lot of really interesting results. And while you should not in any way become apathetic going into the 2020 election, it's nice to win some.
Yeah, there's still, there's still Republicans in the country.
There are, yeah. It's gonna take 2 to 4 more years to get rid of them. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.